Well, firstly, let me say I was a number of the things that Anna said I was planning to say, so I think I'll be briefer than expected. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Anne and her team, because I think the report that was released in 2019, 2020 was really an eye-opener. The reality is, if we were having this discussion in a venue like this, in an event like this 5 years ago, it would have been a more theoretical thing. I think the arrival of the pandemic and the experience of the coronavirus, the COVID pandemic, is really what's made us all more aware of this. But just to echo maybe a few of the points that Anne made, first thing I wanted to say is that zoonotic diseases, that is, diseases that are actually transferred from animals to humans, are not a new thing. Black Death, Spanish flu, malaria, SARS, Ebola, they're all examples of diseases in humans that actually originated from animals. What is new now is that the occurrence of these types of diseases is on the increase, as we've seen. And with the rapid destruction of nature on the one hand, and modern traveling habits on the other, they're spreading much, much quicker. And the estimation right now is that something like 75% of all new infectious diseases in humans actually originate from animals. So that should be a real wake-up call for us. The second point, I think Anne already emphasized this very clear link between the pandemic and the climate and biodiversity crisis. And so, in a sense, the root causes of the pandemic are those root causes of biodiversity loss and of climate change. Whether it's changes in land use, expansion, intensification of agriculture, the disruption of ecosystems, that is leading to a greater frequency of these pathogens. And I would say, if I were to single one real clear threat in this, is the development of deforestation, and just how intensely that has progressed over the last few years. It's linked to the spread of viruses like Ebola, like Nipah, and if I were to put it very simply, the more forests we destroy, the greater the chance of new pandemics. We've lost something like 420 million hectares of tropical forests since the 1990s. The World Resources Institute gave out the statistic that if tropical deforestation were a country, it would rate third in CO2 equivalent emissions. So in a sense, what does that mean? That the solution to biodiversity loss and the climate crisis is also the solution to the pandemics. And that's, I think, how we have to see this. We have to be aware of the fact that this isn't over, that future pandemics will emerge more often, they will spread more rapidly, they will potentially do more damage to the world economy, and we have already lost something like 6.5 million, 6.6 million people to COVID-19. So the points that were already made around prevention rather than reaction, about trying to bridge to create this nexus between environment and health, the One Health approach, about curbing wildlife trade in a big way. Wildlife trade just in China alone is $20 billion annually. I think these are the things we really need to be focusing on. And of course, the last point I would make in introduction, Andreas, is that, and I think already mentioned it, next week we will have the COP15 in Montreal. This COP was around the Convention on Biodiversity. This COP was 2 years delayed because of the coronavirus. It was supposed to take place in China. We have 2 decades of failure in the CBD in not actually achieving the targets around conserving biodiversity. So it's really going to be important to see that we have some solid commitments agreed there by the political leaders. And COP27 was not a very good introduction to that. So let's be a bit more hopeful about COP15.